To call us into prayer today and officially open, I would like to invite Sabra Kauka to come to the front and gift us with who she is and what she brings to this beautiful island.
Aloha kakahi akakako. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here today. I open with this chant that speaks of sharing aloha. Anawahi ko kako mea ho'oki pala e ai. Amena mea hano hano. E ho'o hiva hiva ia nei makola e ai. E hui puhui ka vai vai. O ko kako mau kupuna la e ai. Ia hipu ia kako I ka lokahi. Kana lui mia kako mai ka hiki mai la e ai. Me ke aloha no kako apau. Me ke aloha no kako apau. With aloha one to another. Me ke aloha kako apau. Aloha. When Analia asked me to speak this morning, I had to review my history. And in reviewing that history, I rediscovered so many things that I had forgotten. But let me take a little survey. Where were you? How many of you were born in 1940s? Okay, that's about a third, maybe a fourth to a third of the audience. How many of you were born by the 1950s? Okay, 60s, 70s, 80s. You see, we have youngsters. Maikai. Did I go back far enough? Okay. Maikai, 1930s. Yay! Oh, brother, you should be up here giving this speech. You have lived through so much. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, yay! 1920s. Oh boy. Wow. Anybody 1910s? No, that would be my mother. That would be Joanne's mother, yeah? 1920s. Okay. Oh my gosh. We have history in this room. Yay. We have people who have lived through so much and seen so much. In 1959, think back, where were you? I was a freshman at Kamehameha School, up on the hill. When Hawaii became a state, Pele erupted and the sky was orange, more orange than it is now. Everybody said it was a celebration. I went, okay. And I was a dorm, I lived up in the dorm, up on Kapalama campus. And so we really weren't a part of the festivities and the parades down in downtown. But I did not know until recently that Dr. King came to address that first legislature of Hawaii in September of 1959. And I cannot help thinking that Senator Dan Inouye must have been a very important part of that connection, all right? And Martin Luther King says, I come to you with a great deal of appreciation and great feeling of appreciation, I should say, for what has been accomplished in this beautiful setting and in this beautiful state of our union. As I think of the struggle that we are engaged in the Southland, we look to you for inspiration as a noble example, where you have already accomplished in the area of racial harmony and racial justice. what we are struggling to accomplish in other sections of the country. And you can never know what it means to those of us caught for the moment in the tragic and often dark midnight of man's inhumanity to man, to come to a place where we see the glowing daybreak of freedom and dignity and racial justice. Wow, in 1959. So let's move up 10 years to 1969. 1969, my son was born in Enid, Oklahoma. His father was going through Air Force training at Vance Air Force Base. He had to go to Florida for further training. And so we drove from Oklahoma to Florida. I couldn't figure it out at the time, but we went into a restaurant along the highway, and they took a long time to serve our table. And I noticed that other people were coming in, and they were getting served, and they were leaving, and we hadn't even put in our order yet. And then it began to dawn on me. Here my husband was Holly, blonde hair, blue eye. I'm a brownie, dark in the sun. Our son is mixed. And it began to dawn on me, oh wow, I am experiencing prejudice for the first time that I am aware of. And it made me think very hard about what it must be like to live there. And I'm so grateful for having grown up in the islands, for having a mixture of friends around me, a mixture of family around me, and to realize the specialness of these islands. Okay. You know, I couldn't help but keep reading on this day. And there was a Representative John Lewis, Democrat of Georgia, who on the eve of this day, he said of race relations in the country, "We have made a lot of progress, but we're not there yet. The scars and stains of racism are still deeply embedded in American society." Martin Luther King had concluded that the church offered the most assuring way to answer an inner urge to serve humanity. And I like that. That's what our council does. That's what our mayor does. That's what our politicians do. They have that inner urge to serve humanity. All of you, you know, you have that inner urge to serve humanity, and I congratulate you on it. Because it takes a special person. It takes a special strength to serve in that capacity. King believed that organized nonviolent protest against the system of Southern segregation known as Jim Crow laws would lead to extensive media coverage of the struggle for black equality and voting rights. Journalistic accounts and televised footage of the daily deprivation and indignities suffered by Southern blacks and of segregationist violence and harassment of civil rights workers and marchers produced a wave of sympathetic public opinion that convinced the majority of Americans that the civil rights movement was the most important issue in American politics in the early 1960s. Some of you were voting at that time. Early 60s, I hadn't really come of age to vote yet. I hadn't graduated from high school. Another thing that Martin Luther King said is that the time is always right to do what is right. And then I came across some writing by Hamden Rice. Hamden said, "My father told me with a sort of cold fury, Dr. King ended the terror of living in the South. Once people had been beaten, had dogs sicked on them, had fire hoses sprayed on them, and been thrown in jail, you know what happened? These magnificent young black people began singing freedom songs in jail." I absolutely love singing with the Kauai Hospice Choir under my friend Sharon West's direction. It just fills me with so much joy to sing. Over this past 18 months since Kaiopua passed, we used to sing quite a bit together, and I love that. I love that harmony and that full volume around us. And singing with the choir and singing with my friend Sylvia Partridge, and the halau fills that space again with aloha. So Hamden continues, that, my friends, is what ended the terrorism of the South. Confronting your worst fears, living through it, and breaking out in a deep-throated freedom song. And you're going to hear a song later that Sharon's going to lead. The jailers knew they had lost when they beat the Dickens crap out of these young Negroes, and the jailed, beaten young people began to sing joyously, first in one town, then in another. And this is what the writer, James Baldwin, captured like no other writer of the area. Please let this sink in, he says. It wasn't marches or speeches. It was taking a severe beating, surviving and realizing that our fears were mostly illusory and that we were free. Freedom, equality, and liberty are not our distractions. They are the irreducible ideals on which America was founded. And these promises are the only solution to repair the divided state of America. That quote comes from SALT, the South Asian Americans Leading Together. It is a fairly young organization, but they too have felt the prejudice because they are brown. They are South Asian. They come from Vietnam, Cambodia, Burma, Thailand, India, Bangladesh. And they have come to our country, they've come to America for education, for opportunity, and to make a contribution to the community. And now Annalie is wondering, when's she going to get to Aloha? Because in looking at, and reading about this, there are pictures of the march in Selma, and they're wearing leis. They're wearing leis. Yay! Wow! So somebody from Hawaii had to make, and they're plumeria leis. And so you got to make them quick, and you got to ship them quick, and you got to wear them quick because in 3, 4, 5 days, they're sort of wilted. And I was so impressed to learn that, and I wondered about all the people who had been behind that, who had shipped them there, and I wondered if anybody in this audience knows the story of those leis. Again, I thank Inoue and our other representative there. All of them had to have a hand in that. When I read about Senator Inoue, it says that he was born in Honolulu, but I want confirmation here because I had also heard that he was born in Wahiawa, here on Kauai. No? It was Honolulu? Okay. All right. Maybe he had family from Wahiawa. Okay? Yeah, he had family here. We've talked to A&B to put up a marker there, a historical plaque acknowledging the fact that his family was from Kauai. So those leis, oh my gosh, how beautiful. You know how special it is to receive a lei. And so today I wear leis that were given to me as gifts. The first two are from my aunt, Eleanor Williamson, who worked at Bishop Museum for many years. And she worked with Tutu Kavenapukui, whom I spoke about on Saturday at the Kauai Historical Society annual meeting. And when they came to Kauai, they did oral history, and they recorded oral history on those round metal cylinders, which are still stored at Bishop Museum, but I sure hope they've transferred them to digital. And this second lei is from Lu Niheo Kurdi, Pupu Ni'ihau, which was a gift of mahalo from her. And I thank her so very much because they're precious to me and I love them. And also because I tried to make Ni'ihau shell earrings once. 12 shells on each earring. Oh, my hands cramped. My eyes were squinting. Oh, I was afraid of crushing them. It takes a great deal of skill to make these leis. So with aloha, with the leis, with the symbol of leis, I welcome you today. I greet you. And I know that you would not be here if you did not already share aloha ke kahi, love for one another. And I look forward to hearing the singing later. Mahalo ke akua, e ho'opomai ka ia oko. I ask God's blessing on each and every one of you. May you continue in your lives on a path of service to the community. Mahalo kia kua no na mea a pau. Ameni.